Turbo Conquering Mega Eagle. Alright folks, how you doing? This is workshop bunker build number 4 I reckon. We're about 8 foot down, which is great. So I've got to make a new bucket for the spoils. When I dig down in the bottom of the hole, I'm going to put them in this Bell mini mix drum now. I was originally going to turn this into a barbecue, but the underground bunker is much more important. So, yeah, little bit of a change in design. If you saw the old bucket that I was lowering down the hole, I tried getting as much as possible in that, and as a result, it was a little bit bulky, and it wasn't finished terribly well. So there were sharp edges all over it, which, you know, when you're down a hole with it, is a little bit unpleasant, I suppose. And then because it was on a cart, it was a little bit too heavy to pull when it was full, you know. So now that I've got the dump truck that I just built in a previous video, I can afford, rather than doing one big bucket and then having to take that somewhere and empty it, if I've got a smaller bucket and make it easier for me to dig, I'm going to have to empty it more frequently. But if I'm only emptying it into the awaiting dump truck that has a much greater capacity than the original bucket, I think we're going to work out actually better, and it's going to be a lot more pleasant down the hole. So this is going to get turned into like a mining truck, you know, where the hopper itself is pivoted at the bottom, whole thing tips over. Alright? Right then folks, this is the new bucket. Cement drum, pivots at the you can't really see that one too well, can you? Pivots on the side, and a latching mechanism as well. And what I couldn't get the right spring. This is the closest spring I had, and then I got the positioning a bit wrong. But when it's full, it will tip over by itself. It's pretty much on the balancing point as it is here. I will have to push it back up. It would have been nice to have made it so it bing and latched itself back in, but geez, this is what I mean. I do need to find a different spring. It's not quite so tight, but at the same time, I don't want it to accidentally come unlatched whilst I'm pulling it up the hole and you know, dump mud. So yeah, I'm going to throw some paint at it. Everything's going to be blue for a little bit because I got given 20 litres of blue paint. So I'm going to paint everything, but you know, that's going to be the standard colour. That is a problem. I haven't really counted on that. What happens if it doesn't want to come out? Oh dear. Interesting. So that thing fills up just under a barrow load. That's not a full barrow load, I would have said, but it's a good weight for a barrow load. The reason why I haven't got the dumper going at the minute is because I did a bit of a dig over there. Hopefully you can see that. You know, I figured I'd take the topsoil out of that place and then put this clay back there, because I can use the topsoil elsewhere in the garden. But I'm just going to fill that in, and then I can get the dump truck round here anyway. Digging's going incredibly well. I'm about 10 foot down now. Well, I had a little mishap with the ladder yesterday, isn't it? The one I screwed to the side. So I spent a bit of time prefabbing ladder sections, and they're a lot stronger. Right. This one is for hooking on down at the bottom, so I can hook it up to a higher rung when I want to dig, and then bring it down to climb it up it. So that should make it easier to dig. And then these are what I've made to screw to the side. They've got a bit of overlap at the bottom, so you know, they'll share the load throughout the length of the ladder, which hopefully should make them last a bit longer. And they're much narrower as well, which always makes rungs stronger, doesn't it? And they've, you know, I put spaces in there so the load's not all taken by the screw, and I put glue on it as well, so hopefully they'll last a bit longer, eh? So the dump truck, it is an interesting conundrum. I'll make it very clear, it's the first dump truck I've ever built. And I did try a few things that perhaps I might have been best off not experimenting with, I suppose. Rambo! Come! Anyway, the thing is, there's getting towards a number of things wrong with it that make it incredibly unsafe to be operating next to this hole, which is now getting pretty deep. Where I don't know, we're beyond 10 foot. I definitely don't want to fall down there and then have a homemade dump truck fall on top of me. You know, I don't think it can follow me down the hole, but I don't want to fall down the hole anyway. You know, so we have the issue of maneuverability, which is, you know, twofold. There's the poor control of the you know, clutch and throttle. Then having made it so short, I was hoping that it'd achieve a, you know, incredibly good turning circle. It hasn't. What's happened is because the wheelbase is, you know, about the same as the track, the width of the wheels. It's just trying to roll the front tyres off the rim all the time. You know, it hasn't done any tyre damage at all, but it's just merely skidding the front, even though it's got a diff at the back, which is what I was hoping it would avoid. But I suppose having double wide tyres at the back doesn't help with that, does it? And then because I made it such a short wheelbase, that's part of the reason I put the seat over the front axle, was to balance it out, you know. And that obviously means that without a load in the back, it's incredibly front heavy, and without me sat on the front but a load in the back, it's incredibly tail heavy. So I've managed to get 2 loads in the back so far, and I was hoping that the balance points of the bed would be directly above the back axle, so I could put an infinite load in the back and it wouldn't want to tip. But in actual fact, I think it's slightly behind the back axle, so if I put a few loads in it, starts coming nose up. The way to look at this is that it is my first dump truck, and I was fully intending on you know, even building this one, I knew there'd be a Mark II. It just means that the amount that I've learned is more than I could have possibly hoped for, and Mark II is going to come sooner than had previously been anticipated. You know, I will have another few goes at this, but I'm a bit nervous about reversing in, because it really is sketchy. Like that clutch suddenly goes BAM, and then it'll shoot backwards at you know, an almighty 4 miles an hour or something, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you know, when the steering's hit and miss and you're next to a mine shaft, like, it suddenly becomes a big deal, doesn't it? Yeah. RIP plastic diff. God bless her soul. Well, exactly as anticipated, the in you go, Rambo. Go on, get out of it. The oi, get out of it. Bugger off. Go on, in you go, in you go, in you go, Rambo. In you go. Go on, in. The mode of failure. Oh, the biggest mode of failure that's now causing this machine not to work. It was the plastic sprocket on the diff. So, you know, as far as I know, the diff's still okay. The internals of the diff are steel, but the casing is nylon, I suppose, polyamide, whatever you like. This is definitely fixable. What I would have to do is the thing is, I should have made a template of this gear before I wrecked it. That would have been the smart thing to do. Like, even if I just put it on a bit of wood, spray painted around it, and then fitted it to this machine, because I knew it was going to go, that would have been a really clever thing to do. Now it's all stretched and cracked and buggered. Like, I have made my life a lot harder. So what? I don't know. I'm gonna have to have a think about this one. Back to the wheelbarrow for now then, I suppose. Okay, I'm running into more problems here. I'm just gonna put another 2 foot of ply down at the bottom of the hole, and then I'll show you what's going on. This the old digging bucket, incidentally, is coming in very handy for getting materials down. So me coming up and down the ladder every time, I'll just load it up with the sheets and that, and it's not got fresh mud in it now, so everything stays relatively clean, and I can just send it down the hole. Yeah. Right, folks, as you can see, I've got quite far down now. We're boarded down to 10 foot, and I've got another couple of foot at the bottom there. I've just hit quicksand though. Bloody trains! So, yeah, we just hit quicksand. For anyone who doesn't appreciate the significance of this, this is what stopped traffic, the guy digging the tunnel under the tunnel Thames, and that's the point at which Mark Brunel took over, and you know, that is the thing that made him really famous. I always think he should have been famous for his you know, I think the pulley block manufacturing machines were perhaps more important to the empire at the time and to manufacturing in general ever since, but you know, civil engineers get paid more, so I suppose they get to write the history books, don't they? So it's very problematic, very problematic, like, and it's absolutely evil to work in. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back to sinking a pump underneath the surface and trying to get the groundwater out of the area. This is my halfway point, by the way. I'm about 12 foot now, and that's if I get down 24 foot, then I can have an 8 foot wide room down there. You know, that's the intention, I suppose. I don't want anything less than 8 foot wide, which means I've got to have 16 foot above my head, and I figured 8 foot high as well. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But anyway, so that's where we're at. The dump truck didn't work; that broke. I do now have some material to make a filter for the pump system. So that's going to be the next step. And failing that, I will do exactly what Mark Brunel did.
which is investigate the Casion construction technique, which is where we'll build a ring and then put another ring on top of that and another ring on top of that and work inside it all and just excavate that, and the whole lot will sink down slowly. That's okay until I hit bedrock, and I know from the geo maps there is bedrock down here somewhere, but it's really vague, and to get anything accurate you got to pay them 500 quid or whatever in it, which is a bit of a rip-off. I suppose it would have told me about this. I'm happy just going, you know, muddling along. I've switched to much thicker ply now. This much thicker ply I've got on there on the bottom bit, because you know the material's actually getting looser now that I'm getting down to the sandy stuff. The sandy stuff's good though, because it is probably an indicator that I'm going to get into sandstone, which is you know, everyone's preferred tunnelling medium, isn't it? Anyway, well, let's who knows how far down that is. Like, I think the Thames tunnel is, there's Thames tunnel that Brunel dug, well, both father and son dug it, but there's a 50-foot shaft going down for that, so I don't really want to go down 50 foot, because you know, I'll still be digging next year, this time next year, won't I? I'll still be digging down this time next year, which perhaps would be a little bit excessive, you know. But hey, alright, I'm going to leave it there, folks. I don't know really what to say. This is an adventure for me. I hope it's an adventure for you. Make sure you like this and share it with anyone else who's going to be entertained by these sorts of shenanigans. And take care, folks. Alright, bye bye.